Arabians use for literature the Arabic word adab, which is derived from a meaning of etiquette and which implies politeness, culture, and enrichment. The Quran, widely regarded as the finest piece of literature in the Arabic language, would have the greatest lasting effect on Arabic culture and its literature. Themes in Arabic literature, then and now, arise from the respective eras' national identity and social culture.
Arabic literature flourished during the Islamic Golden Age, but has remained vibrant to the present day, with poets and prose writers across the Arab world. Poetry has always been at the heart of the Arabic culture, not at least as the oldest means for its earliest speakers to record their beliefs and wisdom, oral and narratives, and philosophy. Poets are also furious defenders of the human soul whenever it comes under the attack from tyranny and totalitarianism. Such as Mahmud Darwish. One of Mahmud Darwish's famous poems, Write Down, I Am an Arab, was written after he was released from Israeli prison in the 1960s. Other famous writer includes al-Aghani, one of the Arab world's famous female poet, converting to Islam during the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad. Her masterpiece is her eulogies to her brother Sakar, a tribal chief who was severely wounded and later died after a raid against the rival Bani Asad tribe. Next is Amru al-Qais. His masterpiece is the Muallaqat, an ode so revered that it is written in gold on sheets of paper, which are then hung on the walls of the Kaaba in Mecca. He is considered by many to be superior because of his astonishing metaphors and beautiful verses, which echo his desire to be a worthy lover, wise man, warrior, and master.
The Wonder Tree. Far out in the desert of Arabia lived a chief called Ali Ben Amid and his tribe. Their tents were pitched on the trackless sand where the blazing sun beat down all day. Month after month, they saw no stranger, for the paths of travelers lay far to the south. One evening, little Zulweka, the chief's daughter, ran to her father and cried,
"Father, someone is riding this way from the south."
Ali Ben Amid came out of his tent and stood beside his beautiful little daughter.
"Yes, someone is riding this way."
The sun was sliding in a blaze of crimson sky. The desert was bathed in a rose-gray light, which would soon darken into the purple of the night. The chief scanned the southern horizon until his eyes found a little yellow cloud of dust in far distance. Zulweka danced with delight. She loved visitors who told stories of the wonders which her eyes had never seen. They had talked of cities with great stone houses, of lovely green gardens, of sparkling rivers and cool blue seas. To the girl who had lived all her life in the desert, where water was often more scarce and more valuable than precious stones, these stories were marvelous fairy tales. So, she watched the approaching stranger with happy, expectant eyes. As the cloud of dust rolled nearer, they saw that it was a rider on a beautiful milk-white steed. Ali bin Amid called his men to welcome the newcomer, for the desert Arabs are very hospitable. They bowed their turbaned heads almost to the ground in a low salaam as the rider pulled up his sweating mount. The stranger, who was proud and dignified, returned the salute.
"I bring greetings from the great Sheikh Benidi. He rides this way tomorrow."
Ali bin Ahmed conducted the messenger into his own tent while the whole camp bustled with excitement. Ben Nedi was a very great sheikh indeed, known far and wide for his power and goodness, and to have him visit the remote tents of Ali bin Ahmed was an honor. Every Arab in the camp busied themselves in preparing a gift for the coming sheikh, for it is an Arabian custom to give gifts of welcome and hospitality to every visitor. Only little Zulweka sat alone and idle. Tears stood in her lovely dark eyes because she had no gift to give the great man who would come the next day. She had lived all her life in the desert, and except for the clothes she wore, she had nothing truly her own to give.
If only my baby camel had not died, I could give that as a gift.
Her mother, busy in the woman's tent, unrolling a beautiful piece of silk that would be her gift the next day, tried the comfort of the child.
Do not cry, Zuleika. Children are not expected to give gifts. When you are a woman and have possessions of your own, then we can fulfill the laws of hospitality.
But Zulweka was not comforted. She slipped away from the tents and sat on a great stone near the well and wept because she had nothing to give. Suddenly, out of the well appeared a misty white figure which took the shape of the beautiful veiled woman. Her smile was sweet, and when she spoke, her voice was like the soft ripple of running water. Zulweka, looking at her in amazement, knew that she could be no other the good fairy of the well.
Why do you weep, Zuleika?
The great Benedi comes tomorrow, and I have nothing to give him because my baby camel is dead.
Ah, but you have something more precious than that. You have the desire in the heart, but you shall have still another gift to give.
The fairy asked Zulweka to stop crying because she shall have a gift to give to the sheikh, and Zulweka will find it the next day where her tears have fallen upon the sand. Then the shining figure faded away, melting into the misty light like a pale moonbeam. Zulweka ran back to her tent, but she could sleep little that night. As soon as dawn broke, she hurried out into the sand to find the gift which she was to give that day. She came to the well and stopped in amazement. Where yesterday there had been nothing but bare sand, but today there was a tall tree. It was straight and bare except the top, where it carried a tuft of branching leaves and a cluster of brownish fruit. Zulweka rushed back to her father's tent and told him everything that had happened. Her father would not believe that there was a tree in the desert until he had seen the tree for himself and tasted its fruits. In the afternoon, the caravan of the great Sheikh Benedi arrived. Gifts were brought and laid before him, gifts of jewels, of gold, of silk, and of beautiful steel swords from Damascus. The great man received them with gratitude and praise. Ali bin Ahmed smiled, then led Benedi to the rock by the well, where the date palm grew from the spot on which Zulweka's tears had fallen upon the ground, and explained how the wonder tree had sprung up miraculously in the night. Upon knowing everything, Benedi softly exclaimed,
Yes, that is the most precious gift of all, for it springs from the desire of the heart.
and sure enough, the date palm spread until it became the great friend of the desert tribe. As long as it lifts its stately head above the sands, the Arabian knows that it will furnish him with food
from its fruit, cloth from its fiber, and cool shade from its leafy palms.
And that is the story of the Wonder Tree. The end.